You talk in your lecture. You talked about the shift from text to language. But what went in my mind was that while you were talking about this removal of limitation, which Aristotelian scholasticism put, that it limited the body of knowledge and its interpretation and discourses to the limits of the text only. But isn't this, when we say that it's being removed, isn't this emphasis on a particular language of discovering the truth? Or emphasis on the particular language as being the only language in which a particular discipline or a particular discourse can be written? Isn't this again limiting that particular discipline to this to a particular language and to that particular language and not to the text? That means these boundaries of texts have been just replaced by the boundaries of a particular language.
Yeah, actually, so this is clarification about this, about Kant's question, which you have told that Kant says in the preface of this, at the start of the Critique of Pure Reason, that the metaphysics only as a science possible. And also we see at the end of the Critique of Pure Reason, he will say that all the questions of the pure reason can be divided into, there are three basic questions, that what can I know, what should I do, and what can I hope. And he says that this pure reason cannot answer this, what should I do. So that is why pure reason crosses its limits and thinks about this God, freedom, immortality, so that this practical employment of pure reason is possible. So we see that for Kant also, in pure reason, especially in the preface to second edition, he says that this idea, that job of philosophy is to also relation of the morality. He wants to save the freedom, so that's why he is postulating these three. So philosophy also has a relation, as Kant would say, that with the moral question also, and about the idea of the freedom. And perhaps that is what Heidegger, when he had debate with the New Kantianism, he says that New Kantians were trying to put the Heidegger, put Kant in this epistemological sphere only, but basically what the Kant had in the mind of this moral question, the question of the being, because since we are this question of the being, for whom our being is an issue, these epistemological interest in the science on other spheres are generated. So I want to know.
Sorry. I just would like to know whether the prominence of mathematics is due to depersonalization and dematerialization of the nature. And as we see that the entire writing of science was molded in certain directions, where the personal personal effect was totally depersonalized, so that the knowledge we generate, that is totally independent of the persons who generated the knowledge. So probably mathematics fitted that.
Yeah, so it's actually not a question, it's maybe a curiosity, an anthropological curiosity. I'm thinking about, you talked about mathematics as language. I'm thinking about science as language, how it has become part of the larger public consciousness in India now. So we talk about scientific life, right? I mean, I'm thinking about the major debate in India, which happened in the 1980s, between the whole notion of scientific timber and the major critical rejoinder by Ashish Nandi. He wrote a piece called A Humanistic Timber. So I'm thinking of how do you address these issues, like in the whole context of translation. Like this is one thing I was wondering about, the whole notion of scientificity in everyday life. So can we also think about the dominance of science as language, right? So that is one thing. So the second thing is about, when we talk about science studies, the major debate of insiders outsiders happened, at least in the major critical studies and postmodernism, which is about the debate between Bruno Latour and other scholars who engage in the question of science. So how do you see the whole question of insiders and outsiders, which was developed by Bruno Latour in one of his unknown articles?